Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Welcome to another edition of Front and Center, where we put very significant issues affecting our country, the Philippines, as our program title says, Front and Center. On behalf of our colleague Jerome Toledo, I'm your host for today, Steph Vicente, joining you all for a 30-minute worth of talk discussing important matters with our government officials, people from the private sector, or even members of the academe. As seen through our video live streaming, you may watch and listen to Front and Center through our official Facebook page. Just search Radyo Pilipinas World Service. The same goes for our official YouTube channel. Meanwhile, we also have an audio live streaming thanks to the Evox PBS receiver app. You may download the said mobile application via Google Play Store if you are using an Android phone or via App Store if you are using an iPhone. Once you have entered the Evox PBS receiver app, just find the logo of Radyo Pilipinas World Service, which you can see at the back, for you to be able to listen live to our programs such as Front and Center. We are also back on shortwave radio starting last December 2025, as Front and Center is part of our English service, which airs from 10 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning. That's Philippine Standard Time. You may listen to us via the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. For today's edition of Front and Center, we turn now to the latest developments surrounding the upcoming Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, or BSKE, as discussions in Congress raise the possibility of yet another postponement. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has made it clear that it will not oppose a reset, but only if it does not go beyond May 2027 as preparations for the 2028 national elections are set to begin soon after. At the same time, questions are being raised over the proposed realignment of billions of pesos in election funds, with COMELEC emphasizing constitutional limits on how public money can be used. Meanwhile, voter registration continues nationwide, with more than 4 million applications already processed ahead of the November polls. That's if there would be no postponement, as mentioned earlier. And here are some of the questions that people might be thinking regarding all of these developments. First, as the debate unfolds and preparations continue, what should the public expect in the coming months? To help us break this topic down, we will be joined today by Commission on Elections, or COMELEC spokesperson Director John Rex Laudianco. But for the meantime, we will have a few reminders from the station.
Sa loob ng maraming taon, libu-libong pamilyang Pilipino ang walang maayos na tirahan. Hirap makakuha ng pabahay. Kung meron man, hindi angkop sa disenteng pamumuhay.
Iisa ang pangarap ng bawat pamilya, ang magkaroon ng sariling tahanan. Ang mga pangarap nyo, ang pangarap din ng Pangulo. Kaya agad inilunsad ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino Program o 4PH. Hindi lang para magtayo ng mga bahay, kundi para ibalik ang pag-asa at dignidad ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
Noong nakaraang linggo, binalikan ng Pangulo ang ilan sa mga housing projects sa Pampanga para tiyakin na ang bawat pamilya may tunay na pagkakataong magkaroon ng sariling tirahan at ang bawat tahanan ligtas at dekalidad.
Nakakatuwa makita mo na mas maginhawa at mas maganda ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan.
Dagdag pa ni Secretary Jose Ramon Aliling ng Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development.
Ngayon, lahat po ng modalities nandiyan po yung horizontal, house and lot. Ang dignidad ng pamilya ay, lalo na ang Pilipinong pamilya, ay pag nagkaroon siya ng sarili niyang bahay.
Kwento ng mga residente, dahil sa mababang interes sa pabahay, naging mas abot kaya ito para sa kanila. Ibinaba kasi ng gobyerno sa 1 to 3% ang subsidized interest rate para sa mga kwalipikadong benepisyaryo ng socialized housing project, aninsunod pa rin sa utos ng Pangulo.
Yung mga kulang na bahay ay kagawa natin ng paraan upang lahat ng nangangailangan ng pabahay ay gagawin natin.
Sa buong bansa, tuloy-tuloy ang trabaho. Isa-isang inaayos sa mga bagay na magpapagaan sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Kasama na rito ang Vicente at sariling tirahan na hindi lang pangarap, kundi tahanang nabubuksan para sa bawat Pilipino.
Mabilisang trivia, dagdag talino. Heto na ang Dagling Kaalaman.
Alam mo ba, ang tamang charging habits ay nakatutulong para mas humaba ang buhay ng iyong cellphone battery. Iwasan ang palaging 0% bago mag-charge. Mas mabuti kung nasa 20% hanggang 80% lang ang isang cycle. Huwag ding iwanang nakasaksak magdamag dahil kahit may auto cut-off, unti-unti ring naaapektuhan ang battery health. At kung kaya, gumamit ng original or certified chargers para mas ligtas at mas matagal ang performance ng iyong phone. Para laging game ready ang gadget, charge smart, not hard.
Kaunting kaalaman na malaking dagdag talino. Abangan muli ang susunod na Dagling Kaalaman.
Paano nga ba mag-register para magkaroon ng schedule sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center? Narito ang mga dapat gawin. Gamit ang iyong mobile device, pumunta sa eGov.ph app. Pwede itong i-download mula sa Apple App Store o sa Google Play Store. Gumawa ng account. Ilagay ang email address, valid mobile number, pagkatapos ay makakatanggap ka ng one-time code sa iyong email. Gamitin ang code sa eGov app para sa verification ng iyong account at ng mga impormasyong ibinigay. Congratulations! Meron ka ng eGov.ph app account. Pwede mo na ma-access ang iba't ibang serbisyo ng gobyerno kabilang ang mga serbisyo sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center.
And center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And now we're back here in the program Front and Center. As mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about the latest developments surrounding the upcoming barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE. And joining us right now via phone patch is Comelec spokesperson Director John Rex Laudianco. Director Laudianco, welcome to Front and Center. This is Steph Vicente again of Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Ma'am Steph, and good morning to all the viewers and listeners of Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Good morning.
Thank you very much for giving us again time for you to be able to join in this program. First of all, Director Laudianco, what is the Commission on Election or COMELEC's official position on the proposal in Congress to postpone again the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE?
First of all, we recognize two things. First, it's that the world, not only the Philippines, is currently facing a crisis when it comes to energy. In fact, we are now under the declaration of a state of national energy emergency. It is indeed a problem facing every Filipino. And the second one is that the COMELEC recognizes and honors that the Congress is really indeed the agency or the institution vested by the Constitution with the power to set the date of the elections when it comes to the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. And after recognizing that, and being a law enforcer and administrator of election laws, we have to follow any law which will come out of the Congress.
Mm-hmm. I think we were just there is a signal interruption on the end. Director Laudianco.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It seems that our signal or there has been a problem when it comes to the signal. Go ahead, Director Laudianco.
Of course, we recognize two things, ma'am. First, because the world is really under a crisis. And in fact, the Philippines is under the declaration of the state of national energy emergency. And it's a problem facing every Filipino. And second one is that we recognize and honor that the Constitution vested the Congress with the power to set the barangay and
Go ahead,
sangguniang kabataan elections. And the COMELEC, being an enforcer, administrator of law, we have to honor, we have to follow, and we have to implement any law which will come out of Congress, including the one resetting the barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections.
Director Laudianco, why is May 2027 the absolute deadline that COMELEC is setting for any possible election reset, particularly for this BSKE?
Because 2027 is a preparatory year for the 2028 national and local elections, and we have to take note that the 2028 cycle is a presidential elections, and COMELEC really needs time to prepare not just for the system but also to ensure that voters will be able to register, and in fact the system will be perfected and ready for use in the 2028 elections. In fact, there will be so many activities, including the earlier filing of certificates of candidacy envisioned by COMELEC to ensure that any cases, including that of disqualification, declaration as nuisance candidate, cancellation of COCs, will be resolved not just by the COMELEC but also by the Supreme Court should our decision be elevated to it on a petition for review. And that is why we have to finish everything by 2027 to ensure that by January 2028, we are now ready to print the ballots with the final list of candidates. So in case the BSKE will be postponed, we are praying that this happens later in 2026 or at the very least on the very first quarter of 2027.
Now, Director Laudianco, since we're talking about preparations, what preparations has COMELEC already completed for the November 2 BSKE, just in case there would be no postponement?
We have already printed the 70 million ballots and for the barangay voters, and almost 24 million ballots for the SK voters. We have no worries in case the elections will indeed be postponed from November 2 to a later date. Why? Because the barangay and SK elections is a manual elections. The ballots that we have printed are merely blank ballots, lines wherein the voters will write the names of their chosen candidates. And this didn't happen just now. It happened before that we had already printed the ballots. Congress decided to postpone the elections. We had reused the same ballots. So there will be no wastage, no ballot spoilage, because despite the fact of having been printed already, they can still be used even if the elections will be set to a later date. Or in the other part of the consumables that we are in the process of bidding out, we haven't yet procured ball pens and other thumbprint takers, which might dry up in the interim. So these are the last parts that we are procuring. So there is no worry. We will not be losing any supplies in case the elections will be reset.
How about since with around 3 billion pesos already spent on this, you just have mentioned the ballots which would not be affected much because they are blank ballots, and of course the pens that would be used. How about the other election materials to be used for the BSKE? What would happen to them?
Similarly, those accountable and non-accountable documents and forms, they can still be reused even if the elections will be postponed to a later date. Those which are perishable, like the ball pens, we have yet to procure them. The trainings haven't been done yet, the trainings for the electoral boards, and we do this to a date closer to the election so that the training will be fresh in the memories of our electoral board. So the 3 billion pesos practically had been used for the storage of the ballots and the printing of the ballots and the transportation of the ballots from the National Printing Office to our hub in Santa Rosa, Laguna. So we are not affected so much in case the elections will be postponed. The 3 billion will remain to be in its value, and the ballots and those procured can still be reused. No wastage of any form.
Meanwhile, Director Laudiaco, can you clarify COMELEC's stance on the proposed realignment of the 19 billion peso BSKE budget?
While COMELEC is a constitutional enjoys constitutional fiscal autonomy, and our budgets allocated for purposes of elections is indeed a definite budget in the terms of the General Appropriations Act, we recognize the power of the Congress as the guardian of the purse of the country to reallocate funds because there is indeed a crisis. Ordinarily, these things cannot be done because budget allocated for the COMELEC enjoys fiscal autonomy. However, the world and the Philippines is facing a crisis, and we cannot deny that indeed the government is in need of much funds in order to support the citizenry in times of crisis. So we honor, we recognize, and we give premium to that power.
And now, what constitutional or legal limitations prevent Congress from reallocating election funds?
As I had mentioned, COMELEC enjoys constitutional fiscal autonomy, and when it comes to budget, it must be allocated automatically to COMELEC. However, we also recognize that the guardian of the purse of the power of the purse of the government is indeed with Congress, and that is why in times of crisis, notwithstanding the fact of this constitutional fiscal autonomy, we do recognize, and we are one in unison with the country in order to facilitate the handing out of the aid and manage the resources of the country in order for us to be sustainable and have resilience in the face of a worldwide crisis.
Now, if just in case there would be another postponement of this BSKE, how will the remaining 16 billion pesos will be or how will the remaining 16 billion pesos be handled?
Should Congress really decide to postpone the elections and reallocate the remaining 16 billion to the crisis management fund of the government, Congress will, however, assure us that should the date of the elections be determined, the necessary funds for the barangay and SK elections will be given to COMELEC in due time. Also, given that if there will be a postponement, COMELEC will be forced to reopen the registration of voters, and more voters coming in, we will need a much bigger fund this time. Must be an increase in the funds. Congress recognizes too that they have to give COMELEC the budget for the elections should the date be set, and give it a higher premium, increase it, because that is the natural consequence of a postponement of elections. We have to reopen the registration, and more voters will be able to join, and we will be needing more precincts, more electoral boards, more supplies, and therefore concomitantly more budget to pursue the elections.
Now, what does COMELEC mean by requiring a legitimate government interest in the use of election funds? Just for the information of our listeners.
Of course, the government right now does not have unlimited funds to manage the crisis, and this is not just happening in the Philippines, but to the whole world. The whole world is facing the crisis, and with the situation in the Middle East now, we aren't in the position to determine when will.
It seems that our line is again interrupted. Okay, we'll call again. Yes, we are interrupted again. Director Laudianco, go ahead.
Of course, we none of us knows how and when will the crisis end, and therefore, given this quandary, the government is not really in a position to determine as of now what further crisis will we be facing, what further resources that country will need in order to manage the current situation, and given that the COMELEC indeed has the 16 billion budget, and the Congress has the power to reset the elections and in fact reallocate the funds given the crisis. we have to give into that. We have to ensure that the Filipino people will be handled, the crisis will be handled wisely, and the aids will be brought out to those needing it, especially the most hit sector. And of course, again, this comes with the reassurance that with the resetting of the elections, COMELEC will then provide the necessary funds for it, and in fact increase it, because there will be surely an increase in the number of voters for the reset elections.
And since we're talking about the voters, the voter registration just earlier, can you give us an update on the nationwide voter registration turnout so far?
The recent cycle of the registration turned out to be so well, and in fact, the data coming in from last Saturday, we are now at the 4.1 million mark, wherein almost 2 million were added for almost more than 3 million were added to both the SK and the barangay voters, and almost 1 million was added when it comes to those who have reactivated, meaning those taken out of the list prior because of the activations having failed to vote at least twice in the regular elections are now again included in the elections because they have chosen to reactivate their voters registration. This is a very historic registration, the first time in the history of the Philippines that we have achieved this number in a very limited or very short time.
Now, what factors contributed to reaching over 4 million voter registration applications in just 6 months?
We believe it's the awareness of the Filipino people, and the current situation in the Philippines has engendered so much interest that the nation, especially the youth, are very interested in the elections. They have taken to own the elections because they indeed have the power to wield the elections as a potent power to determine the fate of the government, wherein they can proceed with the elections, which we call a continuation of the evolution if it's a good government, or otherwise have a very peaceful revolution by changing the helm of the government. The Filipinos had recognized that indeed they hold the power to shape the government through elections, and they have owned the elections, especially the youth, who are now very active and very aware of the situation in the Philippines.
Just for maybe analyzing this turnout, which regions are showing the highest and lowest voter registration numbers, and what might explain this or these trends?
As always, the highest number of registered voters comes from the National Capital Region, Region 3, Region 4A, and Region 5. These consistently had the highest number of registered voters in registrants applications for registration. The lowest that we have seen is coming in from the Soc-Sargen region, Region 12, and Region 4B. Because for Region 4B, these are island provinces, and their population, their total number of the Filipinos residing there isn't so much, so that we don't expect much registrants coming in from these regions. But again, consistently, Region 3, the National Capital Regions, Region 4A or Calabarzon, and Region 5 produces the highest number of registered voters.
Now, Director Laudianco, aside from the new voter registration, what other services is COMELEC currently offering to the public?
So right now, the COMELEC is offering the securing of a voter certification, which is very much in need of OFWs free of charge. So you can get it from COMELEC free of charge, so that it can serve as your document for identification in applying for your job, especially those who intend to work overseas as overseas Filipino workers, and those who are intending to get as well their passports. The voters registration certificate is the very first document which the Department of Foreign Affairs is honoring, as well as with the continuation of the voters registration. COMELEC is also pushing a number of special register anywhere programs happening in select malls and select government agencies, as well as in educational institutions. We do this to help and bring convenience to the process of registration by ensuring that even though you are residing, for example, in a province in a region outside of the NCR, unfortunately right now you are in the national capital region because of work, because of studies, you don't need to go back to your region or to your province. You can go to the Special Register Anywhere program site, register there, and that we will ensure if you are a qualified voter, you can be a registered voter in your province, in your own region, without having to go back there. So these are the services being pushed by COMELEC right now. And for the BARM parliamentary elections, we are now proceeding with the voter education because the BARM elections will happen in September 14th. So our preparations are in full swing for the BARM elections. This is an automated elections, and that is why on May 5 to 7, the filing of certificates of candidacies and certificates of acceptance of nominations for the candidates in the BARM elections will take place. And after that, we will push with the continuation of the preparations for the automated elections and the printing of the automated ballots and the configuration and calibration of the system to be used.
Now, with the registration period ending on May 18, 2026, what is COMELEC's message to Filipinos who have not yet registered or updated their records? Go ahead, Director Laudianco.
Again and again, we appeal to the Filipino people, those who are qualified voters but have yet to apply for a voter registration, including those who have been deactivated because they have transferred to another city or municipality and they have failed to vote at least twice. So right now is the most optimum period to register. The lines aren't long, and of course most of the schools right now are in break due to the summer season. Please take the opportunity to register now. Do not register on the last days of the elections because you will be experiencing long lines. Let's do away with the habit of the last day of taking care of these things, and please, we urge you, go to COMELEC offices, check our website, check our Facebook page, and see that if there is a special register anywhere program near you, you might as well go there for your convenience. Otherwise, we are open. COMELEC offices are open for registration Tuesdays to Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are closed on Mondays because we are following the Civil Service Directive in the state of the National Energy Emergency. We have closed our offices on a compressed work week on Monday because we have seen that there is a higher surge of registrants from Friday to Saturday, and the lowest one is on Monday. So again, Tuesday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., please go to COMELEC offices or to otherwise to our special Register Anywhere program sites.
With that, thank you very much, Director Laudianco, for joining us again here in Front and Center. Until next time, mabuhay po kayo.
Mabuhay and God bless. Thank you very much, ma'am.
And we were just joined by COMELEC spokesperson Director John Rex Laudianco in regards to the possible postponement again of the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, and also the recent voter turnout which has reached over 4 million. We hope that more applicants would go to the COMELEC offices so that they could exercise their right to vote. At this point, we'll be ending today's edition of Front and Center. We would first like to thank our technical staff composed of Milo Jonella, Susan Aison, Hiro Lucero, and Justin Osias, who made this program possible. Thank you as well to our station manager, Mr. Ray Sampang. Continue to tune in here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service for more updates, and as mentioned earlier, aside from our Facebook page, from our YouTube channel, and of course our Evox PBS receiver app, we also have our shortwave radio. You may listen to us via the following shortwave frequencies: 16.0 or 15.640 megahertz, 17.750 megahertz, and 21.720 megahertz. And also, as mentioned earlier, Front and Center is part of our English service, which airs from 10 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning. That's Philippine Standard Time. Until the next episode of our program, on behalf of Jerome Toledo, this has been your host for today, Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.